Everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with another exciting edition of AEW Dynamite. Now, how good was last night's Dynamite? Well, first of all, it was a jam-packed show. There were lots of things. There was a bit of a heel turn, if you can consider it a heel turn, even though they were kind of tweeners in the first place. There was Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. In a match if which Orange Cassidy lost, he'd have to pay Jericho $7,000 to get his jacket repaired. And there was various other things as well. Cody did a TNT Open Challenge. A very, very busy show, but as I say, how good was it? There's only one way to find out, you cheeky scamps, and that's by assigning each individual segment a lovely individual grade. That's right, it's time for AEW Dynamite Graded. First of all, we're greeted with the revelation that in Daly's place in Jacksonville, not only are there, the standard crew of wrestlers around the ring acting as pseudo-fans, but also far away in the bleachers, there's actual wrestling fans as well, with masks on and everything and social distancing. Let's hope that everybody is following the rulios. And we jump straight into the action with a tag team match between the Dark Order, represented by Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and those bloody Young Bucks. They're back at it again, wrestling the matches. But as the Young Bucks make their entrance, they're jumped from behind by shadowy, dark-clothed figures. Is it Retribution crossing over from WWE to take the action to AEW? No, it's just lower members of the Dark Order. Should have seen that coming, really. I've done a bit of a clickbait there in real time. The match begins with Nick Jackson isolated in the ring and Matt Jackson beaten down on the stage area. Nick is getting, double teamed by other members of the Dark Order outside the ring while Grayson distracts the referee. But here comes Matt Jackson with the first big spot of the match, leaping off the stage with a lovely swanton, with a front flip off the stage to take out the crowd of minions below. Then we get a lovely little few exchanges between the two tag teams once the match has actually properly got underway between the actual men in the match. We get a lovely few exchanges of little feints and double team moves and very choreographed martial artsy type stuff. It's that crunchy Ring of Honor mid-2000s indie goodness. And then we go back in time from the mid-2000s to some old school trickery, really. We get Matt Jackson cornered outside the ring by various different members of the Dark Order, so he scuttles under the ring like a little spider to get out of the way. And then in the ring, Evil Uno uses the referee as an unwitting assistant, on a cutter, passing his opponent's leg to the ref, and rather than dropping the leg, the ref does what every single ref does in that situation and just grabs it and looks at it and goes, "What are you doing? Stop it!" Uno and Grayson once again isolate Nick Jackson in the ring, taking Matt Jackson up to the stage and just throwing him down one of the entrance tunnels and then getting their little underlings to block the entrance to stop Matt from rejoining his partner. And basically, it seems like they've won the match. But they were not counting on Nick Jackson's use of the most powerful move in his admittedly expansive arsenal. It's the most powerful move maybe in all of professional wrestling. It's a roll-up. Yes, as the Dark Order set up Nick Jackson for their double-team finisher, the Fatality, I believe it's called, Mortal Kombat for life, Nick just gets a roll-up on Evil Uno, and that's enough for the 3 count. And you know what? I quite enjoyed it as a finish, to be honest. This gets an A- grade from me, a lovely start to the show, really enjoyed the match, and yeah, it felt like two teams really trying to outwit each other with tactics and strategy, and in the case of the heels, by bending the rules. I really enjoyed it. It almost felt like an FTR match, but with more flips and super kicks. Next up, we get another address on the campaign trail from MJF, flanked, of course, by his entourage, who he's just very rude to at all times. MJF stands at the lectern. Is that what it's called, a lectern? Yes. And that's probably where the word lecture comes from. Yes. It's all making sense, lads. MJF stands at the lectern and says if Jon Moxley really cared about us, the fans, as our champion, then he'd be here tonight, but he's not. We've already heard that Moxley's going to be here tonight. Shivani announced it just before this segment, so come on, Maxwell. But MJF plows on and says he must take partial responsibility for Moxley's absence because not only is he scared of change, the change that MJF would bring as champion, he's also just scared of MJF himself. Yeah, okay, mate. Yeah, he's scared of you. MJF then shoots a little bit on Moxley and says, I'm not going to be your typical opponent. I'm not going to be somebody who's happy to lay down and stare at the lights for you. But let me get into a position that makes you more comfortable and then maybe you'll show up. And MJF does just lie on the canvas and cuts the rest of his promo from that prone position. But then, of course, because this is pro wrestling and sometimes the most predictable course of action is the most entertaining one, Moxley's music hits and MJF absolutely poops his pants. MJF gets to his feet. He's like, right, right, everybody block the entrances. He comes out the crowd. He always comes out the crowd. Go up there, go to the stands, go to the bums. He says, go to the bums. That's where he comes out of. Go up there. And he sends Wardlow and the rest of his entourage up into the bleachers. And then, because it's pro wrestling and sometimes the most predictable course of action, the most entertaining one, Moxley comes out the entrance like Bugs Bunny outwitting Elmer Fudd once again. Moxley nails MJF from behind, beats him up a little bit, drops him with a paradigm shift, and then stomps to the back. And in Gorilla, he grabs a microphone and cuts a promo to the camera. And just in the background, you can see Tony Khan there, just chilling, wearing a lovely pair of cargo shorts. Moxley says that he hopes that this attack on MJF doesn't convince MJF that they're even. They are nowhere close to being even. And I'm going to give this segment another A- grade. I really enjoyed this. I liked the promo. I liked the run-in. I liked the fact that Moxley outsmarted MJF. Even though it was obvious, it still made for an entertaining angle. And generally, I thought it was a good segment. So a very strong start to the show there. 2 A- grades back to back. Now we get a segment that was a little bit too short to give a grade to, but I'll talk about it anyway as we head backstage to find Alex Marvez interviewing Matt Hardy. Marvez is asking Matt Hardy how he feels after he was viciously attacked by Sammy Guevara, who threw that chair into him and split his forehead wide open. And Matt says he's Matt Hardy, he does not die, but then starts to show signs of being broken again, starts talking in that weird language or that weird dialect that he uses, and just generally being a little bit creepy. Then Matt thinks that one of the referees walking past is actually Sammy Guevara because he's wearing a leather jacket and maybe a baseball cap as well. The referee, to be fair to him, is dressed quite a lot like Sammy Guevara. So Matt grabs him and starts beating him up, and other referees pull him away, and I have to commend Alex Marvez here for staying so calm given the circumstances. Would it not have killed Marvez just to freak out a little bit because, you know, a wrestler has just attacked an official in plain view of him? Because he just goes, guys, we're going to need some help here. And that is the level of enthusiasm that he delivers that line with. I'm not even joking. I swear to you, he goes, guys, Matt's at it again. We're gonna need some help here. Like, what is going on? Right, now on to the next match anyway. And it's the TNT Open Challenge between Cody and Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky is out on his own, no Daniels, no Kazarian, but Cody, by contrast, has everybody in his extended family, it seems like. Well, not quite, but he's got the entire Nightmare family with him. Who's he got? He's got Brandy, he's got Dustin, he's got Ali, he's got QT Marshall, he's got Arn Anderson as well. I think that's all of them. He's got 5 people with him in his entrance. And there's talk of Cody maybe letting this success go to his head as the TNT champion on commentary. Little inklings of it scattered, not just during his entrance, but throughout the match as well. And it's very interesting stuff. Continuing, in my opinion anyway, that slow burn heel turn. He also gets a new nickname during his ring announcement, where they call him the American Nightmare, of course, but also the Prince of Pro Wrestling. And if that is not a heel nickname, then I don't know what is. And another thing as well, the intro to this match was absolutely chock full of surprises. The referee is Mike Chioda. He's back. He's back in the business. He hasn't been out of the game for long, but he's back. And he's looking remarkably better than ever. He's been on holiday and he's got himself a lovely tan. Anyway, so we get the match and there's nice little touches of Cody's implied arrogance here and there. At one point he throws Scorpio Sky out the ring and then sits on the middle rope to hold the ropes open for Sky, but Sky refuses and enters the ring through a different side. Love anything like that. Really good stuff. It goes back and forth. Sky is more than holding his own. Cody's ribs are all weak. He's selling them at any given opportunity, and this leads to a couple of nice near falls for Scorpio Sky. He almost gets the pinfall off a cutter and off a superplex reversal into a roll-up, but then Cody catches him with the crossroads and it's 1-2, and Scorpio Sky kicks out of the crossroads. Go on. Sky goes for his jumping, twisting cutter from the apron into the ring, but Cody holds onto the ropes and Sky just crashes and burns on the canvas, and when he rises up, Cody nails another crossroads, and that's enough to pick up the victory. And then after the match, Brody Lee appears on the Tron, and he has got the old TNT Championship. I forgot to mention as well, there's been so much at the start of this match. Cody's also got the new TNT Championship. It looks better. It looks better. But Brody Lee's got the old one on the Tron, and he calls out Cody and says, look, I'm going to take that new belt from you when we get to next week's show, which is on Saturday, I believe. I think. Am I going to have to work the weekend? Oh, I've just realised. Yes, the reason for the schedule change is because of the NBA playoffs. Come on, Damian Lillard, my boy. You can do it. You can keep that in if you want. You can keep me telling you, Sam, in that I've just realised I've got to work next weekend. You can keep that in. This frustration is real. This gets a B+ grade from me. I thought this match was going to have a bit more of an intriguing ending than just a second crossroads and the pinfall. It seemed like they were setting Cody up for a way to maybe try and weasel his way out of the match almost in heelish fashion. That's what I wanted to see, with the overconfidence and the big entrance with everybody around him and the new nickname and the selling of the ribs as well. It looked like Cody was in a bit of danger, not just from his own physical limitations, but also his own overconfidence. But instead, he just won the match clean, and I don't know if that was the way to go, really. So that's why it only gets a B+ grade, but it was still a largely enjoyable match. And I wonder if they're just setting him up for a defeat to Brody Lee, and we could see Brody become the new TNT champion, because now there's so many excuses for Cody to lose. It seems like a very real possibility. Next up, more tag team action, a tag team title match in fact, as Kenny Omega and Hangman Page defend their belts against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And interestingly, during this match, we get a few shots occasionally of the crowd, and Kazarian sat there on his own with well, Scorpio Sky just wrestled, but no Daniels around him. He's just on his own. Commentary point out that that's a bit weird, and he's watching this match very intently. We don't learn why for the rest of the episode, but I think the seeds have been sown for a little future storyline. The match goes back and forth for a while, and then we get our first big notable moment when Kenny Omega goes for a Snapdragon on Jungle Boy, but Jungle Boy reverses it into an arm drag. Kenny rolls out the ring, and Marco Stunt laughs at him because Jungle Boy reversed his move. But he laughs at him and turns his back on the most dangerous man in one of the most dangerous men in professional wrestling. Let's not discount Steve Blackman quite yet. And Kenny Omega just drops Marco Stunt with a hellacious Snapdragon on the outside. Later on, a little bit of heelishness from Jurassic Express. I must say that, like, in a lot of their matches, they involve Marco Stunt a lot when he's not actually a participant in the match, boys. Just watch yourselves, because you're not being total baby faces there. Basically, Jungle Boy distracts the referee. Luchasaurus picks up Marco Stunt and hurls him at Kenny Omega on the outside. But then the champions obviously are the stronger tag team. Well, they're the best tag team in the world. They're the tag team champions, of course. They turn the tide. They isolate Luchasaurus on the outside. They get in the ring and nail Jungle Boy with their double team finisher, and that's enough to retain the belts. This gets a B grade. It was totally fine, but I feel like the match that they planned was a lot more ambitious than how it actually turned out. It felt a little bit weirdly sluggish at times, lacking a bit of momentum. Still a good match, still worthy of a B grade, but I just feel like there was something missing, and I don't quite know what it was. Maybe it's because they opened the show with a better tag match, in my opinion, between the Bucks and the Dark Order. No grade for this following segment, but I do think it's worth a quick mention as Santana and Ortiz find the best friend's luggage backstage and throw it in the shower. It's a dirty, dirty rib, and it carries on their feud. Evil behaviour. And next up, we've had more than enough tag team action on this show, but now we get a tag team angle segment. Jack, come on. Wrestling makes you say some stupid stuff like. But we get the contractually agreed when FTR signed their contracts. They demanded a tag team appreciation night, and that's the segment we get right now. FTR are in the ring, the Bucks are in the ring, the Rock and Roll Express are in the ring, and the Brainbusters are in the ring, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. But before I get on to what happened, it's worth mentioning that throughout the night, they interviewed various tag teams and asked them for their favourite tag team of all time. So let's go through what people said. Omega and Hangman were interviewed. Omega picked the Young Bucks. He said they were the best in the world. He basically kissed their asses a little bit, and Hangman was like, I was going to say that we're the best tag team ever, Kenny. And Kenny's like, yeah, but, you know, the Bucks have done way more than we have. And Hangman looks annoyed. Private Party pick the Hardy Boys, of course. The Butcher and the Blade pick the Road Warriors, which I guess makes sense. And, oh, that was the last one. Right, okay, that was the last one. Bloody hell, there weren't as many as I thought there were. Disappointed, really, not to see anybody pick, for example, Edge and Christian, one of my favourite tag teams ever. The Motor City Machine Guns, another of my favourite tag teams ever. Or, you know, Steve Blackman and Al Snow. Anyway, Matt Jackson gets on the microphone and really puts over the Rock and Roll Express, saying that they are the reason the Young Bucks exist, and they're the reason that so many other tag teams got inspired, from the Rockers to the Hardys to Matt and Nick themselves. Then it's Dax Harwood's turn from FTR. He puts over both teams in the ring, both of the old veteran teams, the Rock and Roll Express and the Brainbusters. He says, you guys are both great. You're the reason I get to provide for my family, doing the thing that I love. And then Ricky Morton gets on the mic and only puts over the Young Bucks, which is just, I really sympathise with FTR, man. Arn Anderson also puts over the Young Bucks, but he says that FTR are the best tag team in the world today. Interesting stuff. And then Tully Blanchard grabs the mic from Ricky Morton and says, right, let's get heelish up in here. He doesn't say that, but it's what he does, because he's Tully Blanchard. He's always a heel. Tully basically says, look, let's not pat each other on the back and talk about how great we are, because nobody in this ring right now has gold. You know, Tom Brady's the best quarterback of all time because he's got all those Super Bowl rings. neither of you two teams are the champions currently, so why are we talking about how great we all are? Arn Anderson tries to calm him down until he's like, no, you know what, Arn? I've still got beef with you from that whole Shawn Spears versus Cody feud. Why did you get involved there then, mate? And Arn's like, right, look, I can see where this is going. I'm going to leave. He leaves. Shawn Spears comes out. It's all getting very, very tense. And then just to kick things off, Ricky Morton just punches Tully Blanchard in the face. There's a big old scuffle in the ring. The Bucks try and break it up. They manage to get Tully out of the ring. Spears follows them, leaving FTR and the Rock and Roll Express alone in the ring. Dax Harwood seems to have re-injured his knee. He's feeling a bit sore. He takes off the knee brace, passes it to Cash, who nails Robert Gibson in the back, and FTR seem to have properly turned heel. Just to solidify this, they pick up Ricky Morton and drop him with the Brainbuster's old move, the Spike Piledriver, and Ricky Morton sells it like he's RVD in 1998 or something. Hangman and Omega rush out to try and see if the Rock and Roll Express are okay. FTR bail and just walk around the ring and leave, and Hangman looks devastated that his friends would have done such a thing. This gets a B+. I thought it was good, maybe not quite as smooth as they all intended. There were a few little stumbles here and there on the mic, and the first 3/4 of the segment were basically just speech upon speech of, you know, talking about how great the other teams in the ring are and how great they themselves are, whoever's talking. But once the action kicked off, it was effective. So B+ is the grade, verging on an A-, but I'm not quite going to go there. And yeah, I think that there are better things down the line. I can't wait for this FTR storyline to really kick into gear. Just briefly, although it does get played off later on, so I'll just briefly mention this, but Jericho is backstage with Mike Chioda saying, you know what, Mike, we've been around the world together. We've known each other for decades. In fact, I once had to make a call and save your job in that old place. So maybe you owe me one, Mike. And I want you to referee my match in the main event against Orange Cassidy. And I want you to do what's right. And Chioda goes, I'm going to call it right down the middle. And Jericho goes, yeah, right down the middle. And when I give you the signal, call it right down the middle. And Chioda's very conflicted. Also, bloody hell, Mike Chioda's got a threatening voice. The gravel, the depth, the severity. Make him the next Batman, I say. Next up, the penultimate match of the night. It's Hikaru Shida in a non-title match, I assume, against the debutante Heather Monroe. And there's only about 25 minutes of the show left, and there's still the main event, so I'm guessing that Heather's not going to last very long, and it doesn't seem like it when Hikaru Shida nails the running knee early, but then Heather manages to reverse the Falcon Arrow into a nice near fall. But then Hikaru Shida debuts a new finisher for herself, a submission finisher. It's the old stretch muffler, and it manages to secure the victory. Shivani has teased earlier in the show that if Shida won, he was going to interview her and see what was next for her. So I was really looking forward to seeing what Shida had to say. So Shivani got there, up on the ramp next to Shida, asked her how she's doing, what's next. There's a lot of challenges coming up for All Out, and Shida says, I'm still waiting, bring it on. And that's it. So fair enough, mate. Okay. C+ is the grade. It was basically a squash, but I like the new submission. The old Brock lock, you know, never fails. One further little mini segment before the main event, and Jake Roberts is cutting a promo about how dangerous Lance Archer is, while in the background Lance Archer is beating somebody up in the locker room, thereby proving, empirically, how dangerous he is. But then Lance comes up to Jake, who looks very intimidated and looks like he's a bit sick of Lance Archer, to be honest, and says, Jake, did you tell them? Did you tell them? And Jake's like, no, I've not told them yet. And Lance Archer goes, right, rips off Jake's shirt, turns him around, and on his back, Jake's got written, everybody dies. So point made, Lance, well done. And finally, the main event, the rematch between Chrissy J and Orange EC. And if Jericho wins, then Orange Cassidy has to pay him $7,000 to repair his jacket. But Cassidy really takes it to Jericho early on. Superman punches, running elbows, all the sort of high-flying stuff that Orange Cassidy can do when he actually tries. But then, quite disappointingly really, and it's not a bad match by any stretch of the imagination, but it falls into a bit of a formulaic, you know, structure. It seems a bit like a TV WWE match, which is fine sometimes, but not really what you expect from the main event of Dynamite. But, you know, it's fine. Basically, Jericho beats down Orange Cassidy for quite a long time. Then Cassidy, after the ad break, makes his comeback, and it's just the sort of thing we've seen a lot before. But then things pick up when Jericho resorts to using the bat. He tells Chioda to turn around so he can use it, and it looks like Chioda's going to do it, but then he has a change of heart and pulls the bat away from Jericho, and Jericho is livid. Jericho gets in Chioda's face, but then Cassidy manages to get a roll up, but it's only enough for 2, and I was so certain that that was going to be the finish. But then there's more problems for Chioda, because Santana and Ortiz spill onto the stage brawling with Chuck Taylor and Trent, and Chioda gets fully out of the ring to watch it. Come on, Mike. You've been in the business for 30 odd years, you're better than this. The distraction to the referee is enough for Jake Hager to come out, run through the crowd, get in the ring, and slam Orange Cassidy down, and then get out of dodge. And I think, oh, well, this is the finish then. But again, It's only a near fall. Jericho low blows Orange Cassidy while shoving Chioda away so that he doesn't see the low blow. And I'm thinking, right, well, this is definitely going to be the finish as he goes for the Judas effect. But Cassidy avoids it, and it's another false finish. That's 3 in a row. My heart cannot take it. Orange Cassidy grabs Jericho, puts his arm around the back of his neck, wraps the leg around. It looks like he's going for a Russian leg sweep maybe, but then they just sort of fall backwards and Cassidy cradles him and gets the pinfall and beats Chris Jericho. And then I think they were running out of time because, you know, on commentary they're basically like, Cassidy's won, yay, see you next week. And that was the end of the show. B+ grade for this match. I know I said it was a bit formulaic, but it really picked up down the stretch with all those near falls, and I just fell for every single one. Really nice stuff. I like how one of the near falls, with Chioda potentially being corrupt, was teased in the little segment beforehand, but then came to nothing. I enjoyed that. But on the other hand, the finish was a bit weird, wasn't it? So I can't give it too high a grade. I don't know if anyone else thought this, but when Orange was setting up for the move, I thought he wanted to roll forwards with Jericho, and they both do a forward roll, and that leads to the pinning predicament. It would have looked a bit more smooth and a bit more technically difficult, but they just fell backwards, and I don't know if that's Jericho maybe thinking, oh, I'm going backwards here. I don't really know. It still kind of worked, but it did look just a little bit sloppy. But overall, how good was the show? I always give this grade to Dynamite, don't I? I wish that... It's a B+, right? The show often delivers B+ or A-, and that's usually about its level. This week was a B+. Really hot start to the show, 2 excellent segments, a match and an angle to set it off. Then things slowed down a little bit, strangely, but it picked up again towards the end of the night. And we also had that massive storyline development with FTR being just horrible men. So B+ is the grade. Good week for Dynamite. Check it out if you haven't seen it. And leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Thanks again for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. This has been AEW Dynamite Graded. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.